But as a child, I always believed that uh, destiny is destiny is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice and grace.
Before he wore the habit, he balanced books and spreadsheets. This is the story of how an accountant from the Philippines answered a deeper call that led him to the monastery. I'd like to introduce you to Father Matthew Rios.
It was not really a life of luxury. So we live in a community of poor people, and so my parents taught us the value of work and the value of community and the value especially of family life, because these are the foundations of everything. With family, with community, you can never go wrong. And particularly in my community when I was growing up, the bond of community life was really strong. You never get hungry in my hometown. If somebody gets sick, everybody takes care of that sick. And in that stereotype of it takes a village to raise a child, that's very true in my upbringing. Besides, it's a small town, we know each other, we know what's going on with everyone. And so there was that bond of communion among us. My childhood was also a little bit different from my classmates because I grew up as a sick child. I had an asthma right from birth, and I was allergic to many things. So some would call me a blue baby because I have always been sick, and so many times we have trips to the hospitals for allergies, asthma, pneumonia, so on and so forth. Um, but I did not know that this is different because I thought it's normal for a child to get sick. But looking back, I think it has something to, well, it's also part of my identity now. I could recall some specific moments that, in terms of my faith. I remember now that one of our favorite play, the typical playing masses, using my sister's diaper or cloth diapers, for vestments. Those were my favorite, our favorite play, and I always play the role of the priest. I was a late vocation by some standards because I entered the religious life at the age of 32. So after grade school and then high school, especially in high school, and beginning on my fourth year of high school life, I was a little bit fallen adrift. As a matter of fact, my two brothers called me the black sheep of the family because I've been involved in many troubles. And instead of devoting to school, sometimes I was cutting classes, joining bad groups. So I was in that youthful enthusiasm, but a misplaced kind of enthusiasm. And then something happened when I was about to graduate in high school. I was involved in a fraternity dispute, and it almost cost my academic year because I have to hide and stop going to school because I was in trouble. People would hurt me when I entered the gate of our school, and my fraternity brothers were also hiding. And there was a real fight, violence, and until my dad learned about it. So that was a devastation for both my parents because they thought I was doing very well. And that was the first crisis in my life, you know. Um, but you know, school, college is the primary goal of everyone back then, especially within my family, you know. My two brothers went to college very well and they did very well. One became a doctor, by the way, and one a lawyer. And here I was, you know, challenged by my parents. What do you want to do? Of course, I want to be good, but uh, honestly, at that time, I really don't want to go to college. Just want to enjoy life as a teenager. But I saw the seriousness of my parents' desire, and at the same time, especially my mom, you know, frustration about what's going on then in the end of my high school life. So I turned to the Lord, and the Lord guided me. I did not hear any voices, but on a day-to-day basis, I slowly um, regained that sense of peace. I was not really aware that I was really sinful, or I thought that was okay. It was just natural for me. I was doing the natural way and going with what I desired back then. But my parents said, well, he said, I just want you to spend a little bit time in the Blessed Sacrament as I give you this absolution. And after that 1 hour of adoration and the Blessed Sacrament alone by myself, I felt a sudden, you know, sense of peace. And then I think it was also my first moment of conversion when I said, you know, I want to go to college and I will be better. Right after college, I was doing very well again. And then I was able to do a lot of different work, like teaching in the university, teaching or working in a refugee camp, you know, the Vietnamese and Laotian refugees. And then I was able, I passed the certified board examination, so I became a certified public accountant by profession. And because of that, that was my ticket to enter the Internal Revenue Service in the Philippines. And you know, the IRS system back in the Philippines is not the same as the United States. It's so full of corruption, graft, and easy money, and so that started again my, you know, my downfall. And well, it was downfall in the spiritual sense. Lots of money, you know. I was barely 26 or just 27, and I was already had my car, and I'm planning to buy a house of my own. And at the time, that was 1980s, you know, having a car back in the Philippines then was like, you're almost like, you almost made it. And then one day, I was nursing my hangover on a Sunday, and it just dawned on me, you know, in my bed, talking to God, and I said, "Is this all there is, Lord? Is this all there is?" And I was crying, and so there's that sense of what you called a while ago, emptiness and dryness, and but at that time, that particular moment, that's all there was. Just asking the question. I did not feel any enlightenment or anything. It's just that I think it's the beginning of, you know, asking something or seeking something deeper. You know, I was reading the newspaper, Sunday newspaper, with a magazine, with an article about a monastic community. And there's this article of children of poor farmers doing a choir concert, boys choir concert in the cultural center of the Philippines. And this is formed by monks, Benedictine monks. And then part of that article is also about a write-up about a monk who was a famous fashion designer in the Philippines, uh, who gave up everything to become a monk. So I said, wow, this person is somebody, you know. And then at the end of that article, it says, do you want to become a monk? And then it says, there's a vocation seminar at Pius the 12th Center, blah, 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 blah. And that was that day, Sunday. I set that aside, but on my way to the park, because I wanted to take a walk, going to that park, I passed by that very pious center, you know, that article was saying, and then there's that, you know, banner that says seminar ongoing, vocation seminar ongoing. And so I got curious and dropped by, and I saw that particular monk. His name is Dom Martin Gomez, and Father Eduardo Africa was the superior. Abbot Eduardo was talking about the life in the monastery. I sat down at the back, and then after 5-10 minutes, I left because I was just curious, just wanted to see in person this particular monk. And on my way out, Dom Martin was the one who met me outside, and he said, "Brother, just to have this, if you wish to write to me or to us," he gave me the address. So that was it. 6 months after, I saw that piece of paper again, and I said, "Wow, what's this, Lord?" you know. And at that time again, I was looking for a place to have a kind of a retreat. And so I wrote Dom Martin, you know, of a possibility of a retreat. Well, the tenor of the letter were inquiry about the monastery, you know, but my agenda was just to be accepted as a retreat and to spend a few days in the monastery. But Dom Martin read it as an application letter. But anyway, he replied right away, and he invited me to try the life. Receiving the letter, I thought maybe I do have a vocation. You know, I started, you know, thinking about it. But then I was working too. I had some assignments to finish, tax audits to do, you know, dockets keep piling up on my desk to finish. And so I could not just decide right and then, you know. So I said, can I spend 1 week? You know? So I went there, had my time with them, and I was able to experience the life of the monastery, you know, starting to pray at 3 a.m. in the morning for matins, and then lauds at 7 o'clock, and then so on and so forth. And these monks were also doing manual work in the farm, raising coffee and planting rice and harvesting rice and corn, so on and so forth. So I said, wow, this is a beautiful life, especially that part of liturgy, the prayer life of the monk. And so from there on, I became, well, almost like restless. After 1 week, I went back to my work, but every day was already a torment, you know. But it took me about 6 months to discern whether this is a real call. One of the persons that I asked for a blessing was my mom, of course, and my dad. And mom said, you know, you can try, but don't leave your job, because I don't think you will be a good religious. Cannot be a monk, he said. And besides, you have already your career, and it's already good. And then my dad said, yeah, why not? If that's what your heart tells you, go for it. Only one condition, he said, just pray for me and your mom, and then become the best monk that you can be. The Lord has perhaps guided me. It was not a difficult choice. I did not feel any burden or sacrifice of turning around. Physically, it was in the first 6 months, you know, physically demanding, you know, waking up at 3 o'clock. There was a time, most of the time, I went home by 1 o'clock in the evening of, doing, nightlife in Manila, parties everywhere. 1 o'clock is just a normal time for me to get home. And now here I am, 3 o'clock in the morning. I have to wake up for matins. That was the only physical change and challenge that I could recall. But emotionally, psychologically, I think God has given me all the gifts to live the life day by day. And the only effort that I recall was that I just convinced myself to live the life one day at a time, to follow the rules, follow the routine of the monastery one day at a time. There's no plan about future, about career, because once I entered the monastery as a novice, it's no longer a career. It's like dying already. It's dying actually. So it's giving up almost everything, giving up the physical world, my family, as a matter of fact, because for 1 year, more than 1 year, I had no communication with my family, my friends. As a monk, basically it's a life of prayer and work, okay? And in the rule of Saint Benedict is very explicit in saying that prefer nothing to the work of God. And work of God for Benedict, the Opus Dei, is the divine liturgy, praying the divine office. And Benedict had established a routine, like this is like a non-negotiable schedule for monks. The daily life of a monk, as Saint Benedict also envisioned it, is a life of balanced life. That a monk has time for communal prayer, private prayer, and also at the same time manual work, or sometimes whatever gifts you have. The abbot, our abbot Damien, is a very good person who discerns, the monks' gifts and talents. So he gives us assignments that we are really, really good at sometimes. And this monastery, St. Andrew's Abbey, is also known for our retreat programs. Kind of a beautiful spiritual life that we can share to others. And thank God, this is the charism of St. Andrew's Abbey. It's almost like one of our main apostolate retreats, conferences, and spiritual direction to priests and seminarians.
Well, Father, what's your secret talent?
Well, I don't know. Ask Father Abbot. Well, I don't know.
Going back to what Father Matthew said in the beginning, destiny is not a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. Listening to his story, you can see so many opportunities where you could have chosen to stay put, stay making a lot of money, and live a life of luxury and materialism, and yet he chooses to leave it. I think it's a great reminder that just because something may seem good for us and will make our life in this world easy, God calls us to not let the world's desires be ours. Father Matthew's destiny could have been a successful accountant, and yet he chose his destiny that God had planned for him. God gives us the free will to choose which life we want, or what our destiny will be, but that's the catch. We have to choose. So what will you choose? Thanks for watching.